All right, so in researching The Devil's Hand, it took a lot more work than I thought at the outset. This was very research intensive, very history intensive. And I have a whole stack of books that I used for my research that I'll be highlighting online. You can find those at Jack Carr USA, officialjackcarr.com. But I wanted to talk about 4 of the main books that I used for research for the new novel. This one I've used pretty much for all of my novels thus far. And if you follow me on Instagram, where I talk about different terrorist events, particularly the ones throughout the 80s, this is one of my primary sources of information. And Beirut Rules by my friend Fred Burton, Samuel Katz. But Fred, an incredible guy. He has a podcast as well. Used to be with Stratfor, but he has written a few books, and this is the one I keep going back to. So if you're looking for a way to understand terrorism of the 1980s in particular, what was going on in Lebanon, in Beirut, with Hezbollah during that time period, you have to read Beirut Rules. It is, I go back to this time and time again to get into the mindset of the different terrorist organizations, groups, factions that were operating in the Middle East at that time. So Beirut Rules. And The Dragons and the Snakes. So by Dr. David Kilcullen, who is a dear friend of mine now, but I started reading his work well before we were friends. And this is his latest. He has another book called Accidental Guerrilla, Out of the Mountains. Quoted me in that one, which was very cool. Such an honor. Counterinsurgency. But this is his latest one, The Dragons and the Snakes. And this one really spurred part of The Devil's Hand, where I wanted to get into the minds of our enemies and what they've been learning by watching us on the field of battle for the last 20 years at war. So if you were Iran, Russia, China, North Korea, a terrorist organization, a super empowered individual, what would you have learned from 9/11 up to today? And what would you have learned by watching the events of the last year? Our response to COVID-19, civil unrest in our cities, irreconcilable political differences through a very tumultuous election season. So this one really kicked me into high gear as far as all that went. So definitely pick this up, and all David's other work as well. Now this one's pretty cool. You can tell I use this quite a bit. It has a lot of yellow stickies in here, as does this one. But this is by the same. These two are by the same author, Ronen Bergman, right here. Rise and kill first. So I use a quote from this actually in the beginning of The Devil's Hand. But this is really about Israel's targeted assassination program, which has really been a part of that country from its inception all the way through today. So these are about different events, how Israel responded to them with that program of targeted assassinations. And then the secret war with Iran. A lot of great background information in here, and just a fantastic work. And all those, among a lot of others, informed my latest novel, The Devil's Hand.